It is 6:30 p.m. and I call this meeting to order. Please stand and we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Winona City Council. Votes will be conducted by a voice call rather than a roll call unless requested by a council member. Tonight I have one announcement. We have a retirement of Ann Sharma. Police investigator Ann Sharma retired from the Winona Police Department on January 31st, 2022, after 22 years of service. She started as a police officer on January 24th, 2000, and was promoted to investigator in January of 2007. Investigator Sharma was assigned to violent person crimes that include sexual assault and child abuse cases. Over the course of her career, she developed many professional relationships and was instrumental in the creation of adult and juvenile protocol on law enforcement's response to sexual assault. She continually sought out training in a multitude of areas to include human trafficking, trauma-informed practices, and victim-centered approaches. Her training and networking took her to areas all over the nation to learn, address, and speak about sexual assault investigations, and participated on many teams and committees, including the Winona County Sexual Assault Interagency Council, the Community Coordinated Response Team, the Minnesota Sex Crimes Investigator Association, and Maddie's Place in Winona. Ann is known for her calming nature and effective listening skills. She genuinely cares about people and supports wellness initiatives, especially for first responders. She was instrumental in bringing different wellness opportunities to community first responders and even taught a yoga class that was offered to all city workers. Ann was a great coworker to everyone. She always had a positive attitude, and her commitment and passion to helping victims was inspiring. From the entire Winona community, we congratulate police investigator Ann Sharma on her retirement from service. Not only will her years of experience and knowledge be missed, but also her dedication and professionalism. Please join me in wishing her a long, healthy, and happy retirement. And if you want to come up, I'll present this plaque to you. That's all I have for this evening. City Manager Chad Ubel, do you have anything this evening?
Mayor and Council, just one update. The demolition of the old middle school auditorium continues. If you haven't driven by, in essence, the building is down. There's certainly a lot more work to be done at that site. However, I do want to just announce that the public library is back open this morning, full service, and we are not anticipating any more closures related to this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. I will now ask the city clerk to take roll call.
Mayor Scott Sherman.
Here.
Councilmember Young.
Here.
Moeller.
Here.
Alexander.
Here.
Iden. Borzakowski.
Here.
Rapinski.
Here.
The first item of business is item 3.1, the application for an off-sale intoxicating liquor license for discount liquor.
Move to approve the application.
I'll second. We have a motion from George, a second from Aaron. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.2 is to renew the liquor permit for the Winona Tour Boat.
Move to approve that license renewal.
Second.
Motion from George, second from, was it Michelle? Second from Michelle. Any discussion?
I'll be abstaining.
Very good. Thank you, Aaron. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.3 is reappointments to the Port Authority. of Mike Chickanowski, Dana Johnson, and Lori Lucas.
Move to approve those appointments.
Second.
We have a motion from George, a second from Eileen. Any discussion?
Mayor,
Yes,
I just want to say that reappointing those three members it's a very, very good reappointment and they are very well good with the Port Authority. So
absolutely. Thank you, George.
good people.
And George and Michelle both serve on the port, so they get firsthand knowledge of how they work. So I appreciate that. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.4 is the Winona Arts Center street closure request.
Move to approve the request.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Eileen, a second from Aaron. Any discussion? Eileen?
I'm just very excited to see the Little Warriors again. They're
Yes.
fantastic.
I didn't know they operated in the winter, so I'm glad that they're going to be out.
Well, it'll be
Yeah, you're right. It'll be summer by then.
No.
Yep.
maybe winter here.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.5 is the request to hold the Miles for Smiles event at the West Lake.
Move to approve that request.
Second.
We have a motion from George, a second from Eileen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.6 is a request for the premises permit for lawful gambling for the Warrior Club to be used at Zaza's Pub and Pizza.
Move to approve that request.
Second.
We have a motion from George, a second from Eileen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.7 are the sign requests.
Move to approve those requests.
Second.
Motion from George, second from Eileen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.8 is the license agreement for the Storm the Day event to be held on October 15th.
Move to approve that date.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from George, a second from Aaron. We do have Bill Hansel here, if anybody has any questions for him. Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.9 is the updated ordinance for no parking bus zone and handicap parking on Main Street.
Move to approve that request.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from George, a second from Aaron. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.10 is a request for no parking zone to be added on Johnson Street.
Move to introduce the ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion from Eileen, a second from George. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
And item 3.11 is the Boats and Bluegrass request for special event camping.
I would approve that request, and then if we could get explanation on that for discussion.
I'll second that.
Motion from George, second from Aaron. Isaac, would you mind coming up? This is Isaac from Boats and Bluegrass. Go ahead, George.
No, I just haven't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for giving me space here today. As you know, in the initial request, we were looking for 150 campsites. And so I just want to address that now that Park and Rec had a different recommendation to maybe take a more stair-stepped approach. And so the recommendation that you'll see in front of you is for 50 campsites and no RV parking. And so I'll just walk through this handout that I have, and you can get some background on what the proposal is. So if any of you don't know already, Rebecca, who's my wife, and myself have been involved with the Boats and Bluegrass Festival probably since 2013, something like that, and took over ownership about 4 or 5 years ago. And so we've been hitting capacity probably for about the past 7 years. And that's a great sign. It gives us a lot of stability and shows that there's a lot of community support for what we have going on. But reaching capacity, it's also an indicator that we could expand this offering to more community members. And so what we don't want to have to raise ticket prices or anything like that. And so the next best way to be able to offer that out is to expand camping passes. And so in order to better serve the community and grow our business, we want to propose including the green space adjacent to the deer park. And so that would be, it would house about 150 ticketed campers. That's 50 campsites, assuming that about 2 to 3 campers per site. It will be a monitored space by volunteers and then professional security at night, and each guest must be ticketed and each car will get a parking pass. We'd use the same first come, first serve system that we have now, as well as using temporary fencing and signage to designate the parking and camping space. And we'd also include a crosswalk staffed by our volunteers and security as well to allow guests to safely pass over Prairie Island Road into the electric camping space. And from there, they can walk just up like they would if they were in electric camping. So on these next pages, you'll actually see a diagram of the use of the space. The tent space is 37,000 square feet. And so that allows a 10 by 10 space. Like I said, on a first come, first serve basis, it'll be tent camping only, so no RVs. Each camping space will be clearly marked with flags and signage, same thing that we do now. And so the diagram that you see here allows for 350 tent spaces. So there's more than enough room to accommodate what we're requesting. But like I said, it'll be staffed. And so anyone coming in will be ticketed. We'll be able to monitor that space and manage the use of the land and make sure that there's no overrun camping or that people aren't parking on the street or really not aligning with what we have laid out. And so the parking space there is 29,000 square feet. You can see it's 2 lanes, so that's 4 rows of cars. Each parking space is 9 by 18 with a 26-foot driving lane. And each guest will get a parking pass, same as the current festival process. We'll provide the temporary fencing and signage again, just like we do now, to designate the parking spaces. And then that crosswalk there that's labeled, we'll have a volunteer there and then professional security as well to make sure that people are utilizing that space and not walking up the street or anything like that and just entering safely over into Prairie Island Campground. And so, yeah, the diagram allows for 7 rows with 15 cars per row, which creates 105 parking spaces. On the next page here, you can see the restrooms laid out. It shows the location of the portable toilets there off to the left. The coloring in the printout's a little dark, but it's that loop there in the upper left corner. And so we'd have a bank of about 3 to 5 toilets with 1 handicap accessible. And the loop there allows for easy replenishment and servicing from the portable toilet folks so that there's no heavy machinery on the grass or anything like that. And then the crosswalk again is there, staffed by volunteers, and ensure the capacity limits are met and parking guidance is followed. And so with that, we've been running the festival for quite some time and have had a really good response from the community. And we feel really comfortable being able to make this expansion. And we want to align with Park and Rec's recommendation to do the 50 campsites and be able to take an entry level approach here and just a crawl, walk, run to this first year of expanding the capacity and offering this to more community members. Are there any questions that I can help answer?
Steve? I guess I'd have a comment. Isaac, I think this is a good compromise. I took several phone calls from some residents across the road there. All of them were supportive of the festival, and some of them attend and enjoy it, but they were a little concerned about 150 more spaces and possibly hundreds more people. So I think well done to try it out, and we'll see how it goes. So well done.
Thank you.
You bet. Really? No? Any other comments? George?
Just to follow up, Isaac, first of all, good job with this festival. I did not realize that you were in charge of that for so long, but very, very good job with that. There's people from out of town come as well too. Now, each campsite will be housing 3 tents. Is that what you said? Or
each campsite would just have 1 tent on it. And so we're assuming 1 to 3 people per tent.
Okay.
And so that's how you get to the 150 ticketed, but 50 actual sites. And so there'd be 50 physical tents on site and allowing for up to 150 ticketed guests.
Okay. Now, I know we've all had phone calls on this, and, that is public parkland, correct? I mean, the use that you're going to do is certainly permissible there. Now, are these 10 sites going to be closer up towards the pavilion? There's a pavilion, there's a
The
pavilion.
latch, that building there,
Yeah,
no, it'll be on the other side of the road. So as you come in, the latch building is to your right and you curve in to the left there, and there's that open parking space.
right.
The camping would be off to that, in that green space. So it wouldn't be close to the actual building there. And so that'll
Okay.
allow cars to come in and turn around, and also for services for the porta potty to come in and turn around without having any risk of tents in the way or anything like that.
And I did have a request from one resident, could maybe they get a free ticket to the event? Just thought I'd ask. That was a question, so. All right, good pilot project. Good luck to you, and we'll move along, so.
Thank you.
Isaac, also, my wife and I own Trinona, and so we're event promoters as well. And obviously we want to see events like this grow and flourish. And I want to thank you and Rebecca for the work that you've done so far, and obviously the FOSS vendors before you. I will mirror what Councilmember Young said in terms of originally you came in with 150. You worked with Patrick and Park Rec to bring this back down to 50, and I hope it's, a good compromise for you. I want to see Boats and Bluegrass succeed for years to come, and potentially grow as well.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, we need to be aware of what the neighbors are saying, and I appreciate their input on this as well. So again, thank you and great work. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. It's been great working with Patrick, and we're really happy with this proposal, and we're feeling really excited coming into this next year. Obviously coming out of COVID and everything, being able to free things up, and we feel a lot of energy just with the people that bought tickets already. And so we're feeling really good.
Awesome. How's planning coming along so far?
Good.
Good.
A good step forward, I think.
Awesome. Great. Any other comments or questions for Isaac? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Isaac.
And then moving on to new business, we'll be moving up item 5.6, the Winona Arts and Cultural Strategic Plan. So item 5.6, Winona Arts and Cultural Strategic Plan. I think we had someone here to speak on that.
Go ahead, Shane.
Mayor and council, again, we had a pre-council session this evening. Presentation was given by our consultant CPG, the Cultural Planning Group. And so there is not a presentation at this point. If there are any questions or comments from council, certainly the consultants are here. Otherwise, there is a recommendation before you.
I would so move to move forward with the recommendation.
Second.
Second that. We have a motion from George. I think I heard Steve before Eileen, so we'll take Steve as a second. Any questions or comments for David or Linda? Since we did it in an informational session, I'll just kind of reiterate what I said. So I apologize if I repeat myself a little bit here, but again, thank you so much to David and Linda for your work. The steering committee for their work, specifically Margaret Shaw Johnson, and also the Fine Arts Commission. Difficult to do this during a pandemic, and thanks for everybody for sticking with it. Since there may be more public watching this as opposed to the informational session, I firmly believe in the three-legged stool approach of arts and culture, healthy lifestyle options, and business and/or entrepreneurship. If any one of those falters, the other two will falter. I don't care which way you look at it, it will happen. It is important that we look at arts and culture as something that is vital to not only our community, but also our economy. It has a large impact within the city limits every year. Isaac's Boats and Bluegrass is a great example of that. But regardless of where you sit on the arts and culture side of the fence, I think it's important that we all understand that this is just as important to a large section of our community as anything else within our community. And I use the examples of the pothole in front of your house, or the ash tree that's dying, or even some of the larger unsolvable issues that we might have to deal with on a regular basis. So this helps add to our community. It will never take away from what we have to offer here. That's all I have. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
And then moving back to item 5.1, the addition of streets to the MSAS or Municipal State Aid Street System.
I would motion to approve the attached resolution.
Second.
Motion from George, second from Eileen. Any questions?
Mayor?
Steve, go ahead. I'll get you next.
Maybe a little explanation on this. Why was this not in here? I'm reading we had 1.3 miles available. Was it just was our allotment of Msas extended, or help me understand?
I'm not sure where this is coming from. It's just something that's been here, I'm assuming kind of built up and never used. And it's something we realized this year and figure we might as well add some streets and get more money out of it.
Get her in
So,
there.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
And then this is just state aid that we get. Is it LGA money?
This is just state aid money.
Okay.
From our state aid system.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. George, you had a question?
Oh, that was. it.
Okay,
So
very good. Yeah, I guess the next question would be, are there other streets that might potentially be moved into MSAS at some point?
Potentially at some point, I don't see us really gaining any more mileage that we'd be able to add. So we would have to remove streets
Okay,
in order to do that. But these three were kind of the best ones to add at the moment.
okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 5.2 is the 2022 redistricting.
would motion to adopt the attached resolution.
Second.
We have a motion from George, a second from Eileen. Any?
Yep, I just wanted to let the council know that the writ of special election was issued today from the governor, and this would be to fill our vacancy on our Congressional District 1 seat. So for the public also, it'll be confusing. The special election to fill the vacancy will be held on August 9th, which is the same day as our primary prior to the general election. A special primary for the special election will be held Tuesday, May 24th. So again, this is a primary, it's a political primary, so it would only be called if more than one candidate files from each major political party. So in other words, if you have 2 or more Republicans or 2 or more Democrats, there will be a special election. I don't foresee that we would not have the special election. So that will be a special primary. The filing period for that special election will be Tuesday, March 1st to Tuesday, March 15th, and that would be filed at the Secretary of State's office in St. Paul. So that's another election this year that we do not have budgeted, but it's hoped that the state will cover the city's costs and the county's costs of conducting that election. So again, the regular primary is August 9th and the general election will be November 8th. City council filings are May 17th through the 31st. One last confusing part is the redistricting did not affect the city of Winona nor the county of Winona, but it did affect congressional district number 1. The special election will be held with the current district.
No.
Really?
But so whoever files, if they're, so it's just another wrinkle in our election law. So because, I mean, it was fortuitous that we did not need to change any of our districts. And we will maintain all of our precincts and the voting sites. For the special election on May 24th, we do need to staff all 16 precincts. So if you're interested in being an election judge, contact the city clerk.
Very good. Thanks, Monica. Eileen?
Oh, Monica explained it, but thank you for laying that out so well, Monica, and for all that you do to ensure we have good elections, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And then moving on to item 5.3, a discussion of public comment section on the agenda. And I would note, you did receive information from the city attorney, and the staff recommendation is, if you want to proceed, we do need to develop policy and procedures for further council consideration.
Can I kick it off?
I'll take a motion.
I didn't think we had them. Oh, yes, okay. Well, then I would motion to direct the staff to work with city attorney to draft a proposed policy and procedures for further council consideration.
I would second that.
We have a motion from Eileen, a second from Aaron. Eileen, do you have something to say?
I was just wondering if we could start with our city attorney, and he sent us a lot of great information about some of the things we need to look out for if we want to set something like this up. And just for the sake of the public who are listening in, Chris, could you outline some of those things that you laid out for us?
Yes, I can. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the establishing an open public comment period is a little more complicated than I think it sounds. I think that, from my standpoint, from a legal perspective, it would be a good idea for the council to have some rules of procedure and decorum in place that would govern the procedures that the council is going to utilize and give guidance to members of the public in terms of how they can interface with the city council through that public comment period. And some of those things I think that will come back to you once city staff and my office have an opportunity to put some more information together for you, put together a draft policy for you to consider. The kinds of things that will be in that will be such things as, are you going to limit the total time period for the public comment period? Are you going to put a limit on the time that an individual speaker can speak during that designated comment period? If you establish a 10-minute public comment period and you have 5 people show up and want to speak, obviously you don't want to have one person take 10 minutes. A lot of cities do have open public comment periods as part of their regular council meetings. Oftentimes they have, speakers have the opportunity to speak for 2 to 3 minutes on whatever they want to talk about. And then they usually establish, a period of time of, 10 minutes or thereabouts that's set aside for that purpose. One of the things to consider also in your rules of procedure are rules regarding decorum and what is appropriate to do as part of a public comment period. There have been some problems in the state of Minnesota with some communities, and it's happened elsewhere in the country, where you may have someone that comes in to speak and they use obscene, profane, discriminatory language, threats of harm, those kinds of things. I mean, the rules of procedure are intended to try and give the public guidance on that, but also give the council guidance as well in terms of how do you handle someone that is, not acting in good faith, someone that is really being trying to disrupt the meeting, trying to, use language that is not protected speech. What do you do in those situations? How do you handle those situations? And so having rules of procedure would allow you to be able to address those issues. And like I said, some cities that haven't had those have faced lawsuits in the past related to claims of intrusion on someone's free speech rights, those types of issues. So like I said, it's a little more complicated than I think it sounds, but it's not that complicated either. And I think that, having some basic rules of procedure in place will help you and will help the public to facilitate a good process.
Very good. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. What I'm hearing is that this is something that wouldn't be easy to put together, but there are lots of templates for it throughout the state. I think that just based on some cursory Googling, most other cities in Minnesota of our size have an open public comment period. And in fact, some of our other governmental bodies right here in our community have that set up. And I think that we should really consider adding it. I think that it would be beneficial for staff and the city attorney to come back with some ideas for how we could set these procedures and where rules and process and notes around decorum could be posted for the public. But I think that we do a lot as a council that's positive, and I think that this is something that we really need to have added to our regular meeting setup.
Thank you, Eileen. George?
Chris, I spoke with you this morning and thank you for the conversation. Your opinion, could this be done before the council meeting? In your opinion, good idea, not such a good idea? We did have open comment period back, I suppose, I know when Jerry was mayor. We had it before the meeting, I believe 6:15 to 6:30. What is your opinion having it before the meeting?
Mayor and council, certainly you could do that. The only issue would be that since you would obviously have a quorum or more of the city council present at that, that public comment period, if it was from 6:15 to 6:30, would be that that has to be properly noticed as a meeting. So, whether you do a resolution adjusting your start time to 6:15, or whatever, staff would have to look at that, but you could certainly do that. You could certainly establish an open public comment period. It's really up to you as a council what you want to do or how you want to set that up. A lot of cities have this as the first item on their agenda every meeting, for 10 minutes or something like that. But you could set it up. Otherwise, like I said, the notice issue would have to be dealt with, because obviously you would be, you would be having a meeting that is otherwise subject to the open meeting law. So we would want to make sure that we're compliant with that. And like I said, one means of doing that would be to just adjust your regular meeting start time to 6:15.
Thank you, Chris.
So the safest way then is to just put it within our meeting.
Oh, start
It would, it would certainly be a simpler approach.
Yep.
I mean, like I said, if you want to start the meeting earlier to try to facilitate that, that's not a hard thing to do either. You just adjust or you adopt a resolution where you, again, list your meeting start time and just change your meeting start time.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? I would like to say on the record that I'm in support of public input at council meetings. I do want to make clear to staff that I want to see not only the legal ramifications of this and what we need to do to follow proper procedure and notice and everything, but also I'd like to see some options. You know, like you said, templates from other communities so that we do have the opportunity to make kind of a customized public input that would fit Winona's needs best. I think I'm speculating, but my guess would be both for staff and council, our greatest fear is someone going off the rails. And ultimately, I am the one who has to control that. And that worries me. You know, how hard do I hit the gavel? What is my script during that process? And what do we do if someone gets unruly? Those are concerns of mine, and I think they're fair concerns to have. I also kind of live by the mantra that prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And I do truly expect this long-term to be beneficial to the council so that we do get to hear and also to the community, because not only do they get to speak to council directly as a group, but also they get to voice it publicly through our means of being able to send this out over the airwaves and in recordings. So, you know, I am in favor of it, but I do want to see some options, and I'll need a pretty strict script so that I can make sure that we're staying on track there as well. I know one thing in particular that I had heard along the way was simply a timer that was facing the podium so that they had the opportunity to wrap it up so that I didn't have to necessarily interrupt during that public input period. So again, thanks everybody for your input here. And I think we'll be able to come up with some good examples here. Michelle?
I'm still hoping we can bring this back for a work session. To your point, part of my concern is because we're televised and live streaming, that we don't know who's watching and what people might say. And I'm not sure what the process is for stopping expletives from being shut out there or just threatening language or discriminatory comment. That's part of my concern too.
Yep.
So I'm hoping we can maybe brainstorm this at a work session before we come here for the final vote so that we can kind of nail down what might work best. Because I do know that you probably can, cancel, we can close the session, step out, take a break and come back. But I think I would like to see the process laid out. And if there's a bunch of options, I'd like us to be able to talk them through with the staff and the whole council before we come for a vote. Because I'm suspecting there's things that many of us haven't thought of that maybe we need to address in that session to make sure we're abiding by whatever the law would suggest and then whatever will work best for the community.
Absolutely. Thanks, Michelle. George?
Yeah, I think too, like on a public hearing night, maybe we're going to have whatever it may be, rezoning or whatever it may be, that when we have the open comment, that we just let the people know if you're here to speak about this particular zoning request, that you do it when that public hearing opens and not before. I think another idea too, which we use in the past, that if someone's going to say something, I'm for a project, against a project, and if you have the same reasons that I have, there's not really a need for those people to come up and state the same thing that we just heard.
Yep.
And I think, Mayor, you've done that. You clarified it a couple of times. If you have something different to say, whether you're for it or against it, come up and say it. But if you agree with the presenter, just, keep your thoughts. So we'll get it worked out.
Yeah, I think so. Do you have anything, Steve? Couple things I forgot to mention. There was a public petition, 176 signatures. Is that correct? So there is a petition out there that is stating that they'd like to see public input. Another piece to this that I'd like to communicate publicly is that concerns that council have are not unfounded. I have received death threats as mayor. There have been death threats against my children. If I have one of those people come up into the podium and start lighting us up, That is not what any of us want. There are serious concerns about civility, not just in Winona, but across our nation right now, and you could even argue around the world. We need to be aware of that. And I ask the public, if you do come to give the council public input, that you're aware of the fact that we are humans. Everything that we do on a regular basis is for the betterment of our community, regardless of which way we fall, whether it's left, right, forward, back, upside down, or right side up. We all have our own opinions on how Winona can grow and how it can get better. And so in that regard, I would ask the public be conscious of that in their comments. So thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 5.4 is the deed Main Street Economic Revitalization Program.
I would move to approve the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion from George, a second from Eileen. We do have Nick here from Community Development, if anybody has any questions.
Would Nick just want to give us a?
Sure, give us a little rundown. Absolutely.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. With this particular program, these funds are offered through Minnesota Deed. This is a new program that the state is able to do because of federal funds. The first round, there was 50 million that was allotted throughout the state. Out of that 50 million, I believe it was about 40 or 30 that went to the Twin Cities. So in this next round, there's going to be a greater allocation to greater Minnesota between port staff, community development staff, and then working with the chamber and the Chamber Foundation, who was technically going to be the applicant. We're going to make an ask of 1.8 million. With that, we believe we can accomplish 5 to 8 projects within our downtown area. Where we came up with the 1.8 is that through the pandemic, and even before, we speak with a lot of our local business owners about their projects and what they want to do. And there seems to be a resounding financial gap with these projects. So we definitely have previous information of what those gaps are to get these projects off the ground and rolling. Along with, we evaluated the first round recipients from greater Minnesota and what they received to make sure our ask was in line. So we're competitive for these funds.
Any questions of Nick? George?
How would someone apply for this?
With this particular application process, the due date for Port City staff to work with the Chamber Foundation is February 28th. Minnesota Deed believes they're going to be making award announcements in March, so fairly quick turnaround. From there, our plan moving forward is to assemble a selection committee between city staff, potentially Port, Chamber, and then from there we would put together the forms and documentation such as applications, conflict of interest forms, and we'll get all that out to the public, have it publicized in the paper, within radio, on our website. And then from there, anybody that is in the eligible area, which we have geographically set from Huff to Franklin Street, and then the northern side of Fifth Street to the riverfront is our eligible area. In essence, our downtown central business district is what we're looking at in those projects there. And then from there, we would go through a couple month review process, award our local funds, and then from there, start working with business owners and contractors to get the 5 to 8 projects done, which I do believe the deadline, this program would run us all the way through the fiscal year of 26. So with contractor shortages and everything else, it's nice to have that extra time to try to get these projects completed.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, Nick.
Item 5.5 is the noxious weed and invasive plant grant acceptance.
I would motion authorizing staff to execute the grant agreement.
Second.
Motion from George, second from Eileen. Any questions for John Howard? He is here. John, do you want to just talk about this real quick, if you don't mind?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This grant that we're receiving would allow for Oriental bittersweet control around Sugarloaf area. That's a fairly infested area with that pretty nasty vine. There also would be a little bit of funding for supplies and equipment for city staff to continue those efforts because it is not exactly never ending, but at this point, there's still quite a lot to do. So there has been some work in this area previously, and this is building off what was not accomplished or what still needs to be done in that area.
Quick question on the map in the council packet or the agenda packet, there was, is that all city land? Or is some of that on falling under private property?
That is all city land. So we do butt up against some private property towards the kind of not the cistern, but the water tower or water reservoir. But the intent would be entirely to work on city property.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you. Eileen?
I just want to compliment you, John, because I feel like every time you come before council, it's because you are applying for or received a grant. So thank you for all the work you do. It's really great that we find ways to do this.
I echo that. Any other questions for John? Comments, discussion? Hearing none? Oh, George, sorry.
Good to see you in the neighborhood.
Over in his ward. Yeah. All righty. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, John.
Item 7.1 is council concerns.
We will start with Councilmember Worzakowski.
You know, the way I've been talking all night, you've probably heard enough. I have nothing.
Somebody mark that down. It's a first.
One in the minutes.
Thank you, George. Councilmember Alexander.
Nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight. Councilmember Moeller. Councilmember Young.
Quick congratulations to the girls Nordic cross-country skiing team qualifying for state and going there and competing, achieving 14th out of 16 teams. And so we had a great year, and we had some individual boys that attended as well. And it was a great meet. So and a great year. So,
Great. And thank you for your work coaching them.
thank you.
Congrats to the Nordic team. Is that all, Steve?
Yep.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Rupinski.
Just want to remind people to take care of the snow on your sidewalk.
Yep.
Even though we just had a little bit, that does need to be shoveled. And want to say thank you again to our street department for the excellent job they've been doing this winter so far.
Absolutely. Thank you, Aaron.
Moving on to the consent agenda. There is one item. It's the approval of the minutes from February 7th and the 17th. There were 3 sets. So on the 7th, there was the open and the closed, and then the special meeting on the 17th.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion from George, a second from Eileen. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
The time being 7:18 and there being no further business to come before the council this evening, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion from Michelle, second from Eileen. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.